Hello everyone, welcome to a small walkthrough of our first portion of object-oriented programming in Java. I want to show off a few concepts here. So before you actually watch this video, could you please read the OOP programming, object-oriented programming in Java until this section down here before method overloading. And in this video, we're going to create a class called dog that goes ahead and showcases some of these examples that we're working with. Now, if we go ahead and scroll back up to the top here, before we actually delve into what the code looks like, there's two sections that we need to look at: the properties, or what essentially the state of the object looks like, and the behaviors. So in our real life scenario, the properties of humans would be something like eye color, hair color, and height. And the behaviors would be something like walking, eating, and talking. Now, in Java, these are referenced in fancier terms as instance variables. So an instance variable is something that a class has as an attribute. So in our scenario here, a human's a human's eye color or hair color is an instance variable, and the human walking or talking is the method. Now, you'll see down here that we have a structure of class declarations, and essentially every time you create a class in Java, such as class name, that can be an object that has a few sections in it. It can have instance variables, essentially its attributes. This could be hair color or eye color. It has a constructor, which is going to be what creates the class. And then it has a method, which are attributes of the class, such as walking and talking. So I went ahead and I created a small class here called dog.java. And again, you'll notice that I don't have any public static void methods. And if you want to see how I did this again, I just will delete this here. And if you right click, go to new and class, I'm just going to call this dog. And you'll see here that I have access to the class. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create my instance variables, and then I'm going to create my constructor, and I'm going to create my methods. And for our purpose here, I want each of my dogs that I create as an object to have a fur color so that I can see what color they are. I want them to have an eye color. And then I also want them to have an age. Now you'll notice the way that I went ahead and created these is by referencing a variable type such as string or int, and then having a blue piece of text after it, such as what the name is. So you'll see this is very similar to creating variables usually, except now because we're not in the main method, these are going to be instance variables. Now we also have this small section here, which is the scope of the instance variables. Instance variables can be public or private. And what this means essentially is that if you want someone to use this class, let's just say in a different class, so later on we'll create a new class called test.java. But essentially, if you want that class to go ahead and have access to these variables, you can make them public. So what I can do here is I can make the eye color and fur color and eye color public, but maybe I don't want that class to see the age very easily, so I can make that private. Now, essentially what will happen now is that whenever you are trying to reference this class by importing it, such as at the top up here, like import dog or anything, you will have access to these two variables, but not the age. Now, after we go ahead and created our instance variables, we need to create a constructor, and a constructor is simply made by referencing the name of the class. You can see here, this class is called dog, so the constructor is called dog as well. And then we need to take in the same parameters to give them to the variables here. So the first parameter is fur color, so I'm going to create a string. And then in the example of item, they put an I in front of each of them to qualify it. So I'm going to call it I fur color, I eye color, that's a bit redundant, and then I age, like so. And now what we can do here, oops, I forgot to put in my types. Now what I can say here is, okay, I want each of these variables to be set to whatever is brought in from over here. So what I can say is fur color is equal to I fur color, and then eye color, then age. And now you will notice that these guys are blue on the left side because they're taking in the values that are over here. Now, essentially, what do I want my methods to do? Well, let's just go ahead and say that this dog is a very well-trained dog. And what I can say here is that I want to make a method that is speak, and all it does is it prints something out to the console and it doesn't return anything for me. So what I could say here is public void speak. We call it capital S, and then I don't want to give it any parameters in there because I just want this to print out to the console. And what I could say now is I could say as a quote, I am a dog, like so. Mine thing, and then I can go ahead and say my fur color is. And what I can do now is go ahead and do something that we're pretty familiar with in Java at this point, is just creating a fancier list here. And you'll notice that I'm not referencing the parameters that are up here. I'm referencing the blue ones that I created. And then I can say age is, and then I can say age. Cool. Now, again, I actually want to go ahead and a few things here is that you'll see that I have public and public up here as well. These methods, very similar to our instance variables. If we don't want other classes to see these methods, we can make them private. For the time being, because I want to showcase how this works in other classes, I'm going to make it public. And I'm going to go ahead and just put this as lowercase because that's the normal format, is to make methods lower. And the reason that our dog is capital is because we named the class dog. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new class here called test. And inside of this class test, I'm going to go ahead and create a static void main method. And again, if you create this class, you could go ahead and make it auto do this. And what I want to do, let's see if I can import dog.java here. It might already be inside. Yeah, so it seems like because we're already in the scope here of our package that we already have it. And you'll see now that very similar to what we used to do is I would do something like int age is equal to 15. And then I could say system.out.println age. Now, if I run this guy, we can see I get the 15 there. And what I can do now, instead of just trying to create this type of print statement out normally in my main method, I could go ahead and actually create, instead of an integer, a dog class. So what I could say now is dog, and let's just, I'm going to call it after my dog, Duchess. And then I could say is equal to new dog. And now you could see here that my new dog is going to take in some parameters. And I want to add the arguments for it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and let's go ahead and get rid of a few of these here. And what I could say now in my parameters is, let's say she has brown hair, brown eye color, and she is 9. And now what I could say is Duchess is now a dog. And what does Duchess have access to? Well, Duchess has access to this method called speak. And we can see now that I can go ahead and type in my main method in Java. You'll see here I can say Duchess dot, and I actually see in my dog class all of these methods that I can access. So I'm actually going to go ahead and call this method called speak. And again, I'm in a different file of test.java. And if I run this file, we now see that I get I am a dog, and my fur color is brown, my eye color is brown, and my age is 9. So again, this is just creating a dog object that has access to each of these. And if we'll notice a few things with the private and public, and this is just a very easy way to see them. And I recommend fiddling around with this on your own to make sure you kind of comprehend what's going on. I can go ahead and print line outs. Instead of having to rely on the method of speak, I can say Duchess dot, and I can get the eye color. And let's just say she changed her eye color. Let's just make her eye color blue really quick. And let's go ahead and run this. We'll see that her fur color is brown, my eye color is blue now because she's created as a new parameter. And again, these parameters are put into each of these sections here and then laid into here. And now we can see that when I print out the eye color, I get blue. But let's just say that you are developing something and you don't want the user to be able to do this. What can you do? You can change eye color to be private. And now if you change this to be private, you might have noticed I get an error over here. And what's this error? The field dog.eyeColor is not visible because it is only restricted to what's going on in here. It's totally fine that I reference it inside of here because it's to this class, but this class does not have access to it because it is private. So again, that is up to you to decide what should be private and what shouldn't be private. It's the user's decision. And essentially, you want to make sure that you can encapsulate or hide some of the things from the user. So in our scenario here, because we're trying to build a program that is just letting the dog speak, we want to make sure that all the user has access to in other classes is this method right here. And again, this private and public, and there's more than private and public that we'll see later, but they are the same type of ideology in the scope each time, right? So I can't use Duchess.speak now because I made it private, but now I can go ahead and make it public. Now, you might be wondering here, okay, if I am a user, how do I go ahead and change these colors, right? Because earlier I went ahead and I said Duchess, or I changed it up here manually. But what if I want to go ahead and try to change the fur color without having to go ahead and go up here? What we can do is we can make another method called public void set fur color. And again, I'm just creating this on the fly right now. You don't need to essentially copy the same idea, but we can go ahead and call, and we could take in a parameter called string, and I'm going to call that parameter very similar to the one above, fur color. And what I could say inside of this method is fur color is equal to fur color. And now what will this do for us? Well, now what I can do, because I cannot in my code right now do something where I say Duchess dots, we'll see that all of the parameters are gone. What I can say now is set fur color to blue as well. Let's just say we dyed her blue. And now if I go ahead and I do Duchess.speak again, and I can run this, we'll see that my fur color is brown, my color is blue, and now down here my fur color is blue, my eye color is blue. And again, because this is public, we can go ahead and access this. And this is kind of the idea that we saw earlier with that concept of the drive-through. You don't want to know everything going on in the background, but like you want to be able to just kind of use this functionality in the background. So I don't know really what's happening within the set fur color function, everything behind it. All I know is that if I provided a value, it's going to change the fur color. Awesome. So there's two examples here that kind of mimic this as well. And there's a lot of information as well. The rstore.java, which is provided for you, and item.java. Go ahead and take a look at item.java. This is a bit more fleshed out as well. We can see up here that we have our privatized initialized instance variables. And then you can also see here, you might see something a bit odd, that we have a constructor that takes in parameters and one that doesn't. So now you might have seen this in Java, but in Python, we'll go ahead and make this in our dog class as well. I'm going to make a constructor with parameters and a constructor without parameters, like so. And what I could say is public dog. And you'll see here that I get my dog empty like that. And what I can say is, let's just say that this is going to be a default value. So I'm just going to go ahead and make every value set to default in this scenario. And we'll make the age of the dog as well set to 0, just because it's there. Now, what does this actually look like? Where does this occur? Well, in our test.java file, let's just say that I want to make another dog called Rose. And I want to say new dog, and let's just say, okay, well, I just want to see if this works right now. Maybe I don't want to provide anything. Now you'll see that Rose is actually created for us, even though I didn't provide any parameters. And I could say rose.speak. And if I go ahead and play this, you'll see I am a dog again. Let me get rid of this extra one. Let me just, so it's only the 2. And you'll see that we have a default, and a 0, which is what occurred in this constructor right here. Now, is this different now? Does Rose have access to all the same things that Duchess has access to? Of course, if I do rose.set fur color, and let's make this fur color brown, like so. And if I run it now again, you'll see here, oops, sorry about that, I forgot to print out the speak again. So now you'll see if I set the fur color to brown, you'll see down here that now instead of saying my fur color is default, it says my fur color is brown. So again, everyone, this is an example using dog.java and test.java of how to go ahead and create this type of dog class and create it using constructors, executing the methods, and so forth. Now, there's a lot to digest inside of here, and there's a lot of small things that the video won't that is kind of hard to cover in a single video. So again, we're going to be looking at method overloads in the next lecture section, but go ahead and try to create dog.java yourself on your own. The files will be uploaded for you, but please go ahead and try to make it your own. Maybe try to make a human class and kind of change it from fur color to hair color. play around a bit with the ideas and see what you can create there. Awesome.